Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttattooandpiercing@gmail.com and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing.
Hey, it's Jeff McNichol down here at Mom's Music, 1900 Melwood Avenue. I was just thinking, when I was a kid, the magic was at Frankfort Avenue, the Mom's Music at Frankfort Avenue, and I used to beg people to get a ride down there just to hang out with the guys and see all the cool gear. Now that I'm the owner of this store, it's like a dream come true. We're recreating the magic with the vibe that we used to have at the old store. We're carrying all the gear that you're going to possibly want. We're giving you the outstanding service and personal attention that you deserve. Yeah, so we've got the great guitar shop here. We're carrying USA Fender, USA Gibson, Paul Reed Smith, Gretsch, Jackson, Charvel. Anything you could possibly want, we're going to have it for you. Mom's is, and always will be, Louisville's music store.
Thank you for tuning into the Metal Forge. I am Mark Jackson and I am your host. The premise of the show is pretty simple. Awesome interviews and awesome music. If you want to contact me, hit me up at metalforgeradio@gmail.com or visit the website metalforgeradio.com. And now, let's get this show on the road. What's going on, metalheads? Thank you all for tuning into the Metal Forge this week. My name is Mark Jackson and I am your host. I have Jerome Marshall from the band Hatemonger, Chicago's own Hatemonger, here in the Metal Forge studio today, and we're going to be talking about the Vile Maxim EP that just was released earlier this year, their performance at Heavy Hell 2, and so much more. And if you're going to be out and about this Halloween and you're in the Chicagoland area, go see these guys. They are performing at Bourbon on Division. Tickets are $12.50 to $17. They are playing with Cloak, Demiser, and Hatemonger. Check them the fuck out if you are going to be in Chicago on the 30th, because that's fucking awesome, and they put on a great fucking show. And unfortunately, we are coming to a close of spooky season here at the Metal Forge, and today I am going to make this special announcement that it's midnight on Halloween. I will be releasing a Vanek Reforged episode. Yeah, I got to speak with Vanek earlier this week, and we got to talk about some awesome fucking stuff, and he will be my guest this Sunday on Halloween. Check it out, because it's totally cool, and Vanek absolutely rocks. But what are you guys going as? I had some people tell me they were going as the Juice Demon. You know, Beetlejuice, as they say. The Spirit Halloween version, Juice Demon. I've got some people going as Fester. I got to see a Fester costume, which I absolutely love. It is great. And just so many more. I don't know if I'm going out on actual Halloween. I know this tonight, actually, is going to be Stonecutters and Lavaborn and a few others. I believe Crypticam is playing that show as well at the Mag Bar in Louisville, Kentucky, and I think I'm going to be going to that. Got to go see my boy Nick in Stonecutters because he is rad as shit, and, you know, we haven't seen each other for a long time, but it'll be fun. It'll be awesome. It will be. I have nothing but total faith in that. Down below, there are links to the sponsors, and without you guys supporting them, they can't support the Metal Forge either. And I am so grateful that you all do help these businesses. Whether you're listening to their podcast, you're buying instruments from them, you're going and getting tattoos, you're going to the Discogs page. Thank you all so much, and continue to please support all of these guys. You know, Ageless Art, Tattoo and Piercing, Mom's Music, Maxwell's House of Music, Better Days Records, Unchained Tapes, Mercenary Press, The Wrestling Steve Show, The Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, the It's Gonna Get Weird Podcast. Keep supporting those guys, because every bit helps us at the Metal Forge, and it helps them too. Also, making sure you all click on the Spotify playlists as well. You get to hear all of the previous bands that have been on the show, and you'll be supporting those people as well too. Thank you all. But I do want to just go ahead and get into this week's episode. Again, thank you all so much for listening. I absolutely, from the bottom of my black heart here, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And this is from Hatemonger's Vile Maxim EP. This is Death Age. All right, metalheads, this one is awesome today because I had the pleasure of seeing this band back in August at Heavy Hell 2 at Black Circle Brewing in Indianapolis, Indiana. If you've never been there, you need to check that fucking place out because it kicks ass. I have Jerome Marshall from Hatemonger on the Metal Forge today. Jerome, dude, how the fuck you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know, just got a big week here ahead of me.
Definitely.
Got a lot of shows I'm playing. Got an album dropping later on this week too, but
nice.
We're talking about Hatemonger, so let's focus on that.
Oh wow! You have something else dropping from something else?
I do. I have another band called Contrition, and our LP comes out on this Friday, 10/29, or today, or whatever.
That's today. Yeah, that's today. Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's no secret that we do pre-record most of these interviews, so I get it.
Yeah.
I have very what you would refer to as in the wrestling business smart fans.
Right.
Everybody knows. It's like I try to keep the kayfabe going with saying, "Hey, I've got him in the studio today," when it was really like two or 3 days ago.
Right.
Awesome.
Man.
Awesome. So, obviously, with the way metal is today, everybody seems to be in multiple bands.
Oh yeah.
And
I think the pandemic definitely made that more of a thing, because of the time and the lockdown and being inside and not being able to play shows,
Oh, absolutely.
And shows are like our bread and butter, and not being able to do it. Well, what else are you going to do?
Definitely.
Sit around and write a few albums.
Definitely. And I think that's where I changed my mode of thinking over the pandemic about this, quote, local metal or local music scene. With the pandemic, I've been turned on to so many new bands that have been outside of Louisville, Kentucky, which is where I'm from. Outside of there, that it's just like, I'll have friends from here that are in bands from, that have members in Texas and California. And it's like, where exactly are they local to?
Right.
So I've went to calling this, instead of calling it local music, independent music.
Yeah.
Because of the pandemic, there's just been so many upstart bands.
Right.
Which is awesome. So Hatemonger, tell me about it.
Well, Hatemonger, it's been a band that pretty much Gary Naples and I had started, maybe back, I think we wrote the first song maybe back in like 2017. And it was, it was in a different tuning, and it was a song that like, we were writing songs that, we were in a band called Cast Aside. Cast Aside was a mainstay Chicago, new wave American heavy metal band, I would say.
Right. And they were around a while.
Yeah, they were around, or we were around. I wasn't, me and Gary weren't initial members of the band. We came into the fold way later, so like,
right.
But then again, we kind of like took the reins on it and then kept on playing in other bands and kept on playing, and, eventually realized that, you gotta make it happen one way or another.
Definitely.
So, Cast Aside, unfortunately, it's no longer a band. Everybody kind of went their ways. We're thinking about we might end up getting back together and doing like a reunion show someday, but overall, it's currently inactive. Gary also plays in a slew of other bands.
I'm looking at the metal archive, and I see like Abigail Williams, live musician, the Clawless Clone,
Wolfhammer,
Without Waves, yeah.
Without Waves, yeah. The list just goes on and on, and it's all kick-ass, it's all kick-ass metal,
Definitely. So you two got together in 2017 at the ending point of Cast Aside and decided.
Yeah, I mean we've always been together. Yeah, we've been sharing a rehearsal space because I used to play in a band called Still Hunt Malice, which turned its name into Blood of Another, which played with a band called Calgary, which is now known as Without Waves. But this has been a deal, like we've had a rehearsal space in Chicago for like the past 15 years. So it's been a long, Gary and I met years before we even joined Cast Aside together. because we went to the same college, Loyola University, Chicago.
Okay.
And at that college, there wasn't really much of a metal scene. It was like we were kind of like the metal guys, you know, and then kind of cultivated that scene, or ended up not, you know, hanging out. And in Chicago, there used to be like an awesome store called Metal Haven. I'm pretty sure you've heard of it or remember it.
Right.
And it used to be in a specific area in Chicago. It's, you know, where Wrigleyville is, Lakeview. So like way back in the last, well, I guess not the last decade, but the decade before that, like let's say around like 2003, 2004, it just was like that was where all of our scene was. You know, there's a store called The Alley that was over there, you know, record stores, and then there was the Metal Haven. So in Metal Haven, like they always were able to get all the underground stuff that you couldn't get at, let's say, a Best Buy, or, you know, the stuff that's not being sold that's
Definitely.
like, you know, mainstream.
It's a real niche place.
Right. Indeed. So, you know, that whole entire scene kind of cultivated our relationship, and then we just started playing shows together, and then we ended up, you know, getting a rehearsal space together, and we've had a rehearsal space since. So Gary and I were like writing immediately once, you know, Cast Aside kind of dissolved. So with Hatemonger, you know, it was just like a lot of riffs going on. We had our former bassist, Tom, who doesn't get a lot of mention. He didn't record on the album, and he's a partial writer and making some of the stuff, but we'd sit around and just kind of come up with like the brutality. Eventually, John Parada joined, who is also a member of Palta Morte and was in Wolfhammer, and also plays in Abigail Williams. Once he came into the fold, you know, things started really flowing. You know, like he started recording all the guitars, and, you know, just the whole entire focus of this band was just like absolute brutality. And when it's like kind of amalgamate like everything that we love about American death metal and Scandinavian death metal, you know, like very HM2 heavy, just nasty, but then also like elements of grindcore. So, you know, you definitely hear some Napalm Death influences in there, you know, like Assok, and we're big like Misery and Index fans.
Definitely.
You know, but then like also, you know, we're also huge fans of Carcass and Bolt Thrower, and definitely hear like Deicide and, you know, Hypocrisy in there too. So it's like, it's all a mixture, you know, but we just like wanted to have that like very nasty, brutal grinding, you know, like
Definitely.
Set off the chainsaw and start like, you know, going right into your guts.
Absolutely. And I know seeing you all live at Heavy Hell, the stage presence is definitely, you can tell with stage presence that like you draw influence from all of those guys, and even like into the thrash stuff, you know, just with the way, just like you're commanding on stage, which is awesome. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It was that performance was our second performance, as you knew. I think I mentioned that on stage, and everybody's like, "Holy shit, are you kidding me?" And I was like, "No." And it's like, guys were getting it,
right? Absolutely. Like, and that was
at that
such
point, we were like all bloodthirsty for like a show, you know.
Oh yeah, sitting out for almost at that point a year and a half for sure for most people. And it was so interesting, that show too, because like everybody said that except for like two bands that like, hey, this is our first show, or this is our second show ever. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Which that's awesome.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's good that we're all able to come out and just do what we love. And then there's like newer bands out that, you know, slowly starting to get some recognition, or,
oh, definitely.
You know.
Hey everybody, let me tell you about the new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Unchained Tapes. They're an independent Pennsylvania tape label. They focus on extreme metal and punk with a killer approach to the tape scene. Visit their web store at unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com now to get your fill of tapes. And for being a Metal Forge listener, enter the code METALFORGE10 at checkout to get a 10% discount on your total purchase. That's unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com. Hey, let me tell you guys about Mercenary Press. They're an independent London label and distributor of all things metal. Mercenary Press delivers the goods from their own independent zine. Trust me, you're going to want to get in on that. To distributing various bands from all over the world, including Cramp from Spain and Sadistic Force from Texas. Visit mercenarypress.bigcartel.com to find out what all they have in stock and what you can order. And for Metal Forge listeners, enter code METALFORGE to receive a discount on your total purchase at mercenarypress.bigcartel.com. Check it out now. So back earlier this year, you all released the Vile Maxim EP.
Yeah.
Which, 5 songs is perfect, for an introduction to a band, I think. 20 minutes straight up. It's something you could pop on. It's a quick listen. And it sounds great, like production-wise.
Thank you.
Tell us out there about how that came about.
Well, pretty much John Prada, the other vocalist and guitarist, he's been getting pretty good at, recording. So he just kind of essentially engineered, we did all the guitars, recorded the guitars, and recorded the drums initially. We just demoed everything out at our space. Then we redid it and re-recorded it all. And then we got Ken Sorceron, of Abigail Williams to mix and master it. And it took a little while. He's mixed through, gave us a few mixes, and we were like, yeah, it's all right. And after going back and forth for a while, he just kind of was like, all right, I'm going to scrap everything that I initially showed you guys and come back with the end result, which ended up being what you hear on the Vile Maxim, which he did an amazing job. He's getting some good credits, under his belt, getting really good at the mixing and mastering on top of just being an amazing vocalist and guitarist. Him and I have and all of us in the band, we've all had a relationship for years. I mean, as you can tell, me and Lee were all have some sort of incestuous thing going on here. Ken played in Wolfhammer for a minute, and that was on a tour with Gary and John. Gary and John also playing Bear Mace. So it's we're all guys that play different things in different bands.
Definitely.
And Ken and I, we went on a tour when we were in Cobalt, when we played with The Obsessed in 2017.
Definitely.
And after being on the road with each other and talking about these things, it's everybody's when are you finally going to release your project? You've always been the other guitarist in the band, or the lead guitarist, or doing backup vocals. When am I going to finally step up and become the lead vocalist? And that time is now. So it's kind of been the driving force, and that's the driving force behind the sound in the Vile Maxim.
I get what you're saying. It's the time is now to do something like that, because back when I said that I was going to do that, I'd went through a couple of bands in the early 2000s, and it never really felt like home, if that makes any sense. It always felt like the band I play in as opposed to my band.
Right.
And I just had to sit there and say one day, fuck this, I'm going to do what I do. And it's been that way ever since.
Right. Right. That's the way to do it, But this is kind of Gary also plays in November's Doom. It's always been joining other bands and becoming members of other bands, hired guns, out to do live performances and whatnot. Cause I toured with Cobalt too, throughout Europe with, Orazi Pazuzu. And that was me playing bass. So it's I play bass, I play guitar, and I sing. So, it kind of just stopped saying no to things and started saying yes to everything.
Right. I've always been that musician that's been I have to, my overload's my primary thing, and then if I wanted to do another thing, it has to be a completely different thing. It has to be a completely different genre or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's all within the main genre of metal, but a little subgenre. It's Hatemonger's considered, death grind.
Right.
Kind of the death metal grindcore, mix.
Or then I would, right. And then I would have to do something like a doom thing or a thrash thing, something like that, to where it's not not confusing. It's like, all right, well, which band is this? Which songs do I play on this? Is this the doom stuff or is this the thrash stuff? You know?
Right. It's definitely have to, like, you know, I mean, with all the songs that we remember, you know, it's like, it's crazy with us metal musicians. We're not like classical musicians or anything like that. It's not like we have sheet music up there.
Right.
It's all in our head. We have to know it all. And
I was speaking with Pins from the band Basher, who also played with you guys at Heavy Hell that day. And he was telling me how it's like, you know, because he plays in High Spirits. He's one of the live musicians for Savage Master. And it's just like he has to mentally, like, okay, I'm going to learn these 8 songs and we're going to go on tour. And then it's like a memory dump. And then I'm going to get back into this headspace and do this band. And it's like, I wish I could do something like that.
I mean, you could, man. Anything's possible. It's all a matter of what you have the time to do, and where you place your focus.
Yes, it's
just
the focus.
Like what's booked, you know, and like what's, you know, every day for me, it's like it's something else, you know, because I also bartend,
right,
and bartend at like several bars in Chicago, and it's like, all right, you know, bartend here this day, practice the next day with this other band, and then bartend the next day, and then practice 2 practices with 2 other bands, and then bartend the next day. It's like it's never like really a day off.
Right. That's the thing with being a musician. You're constantly on it. And if you're in any successful band, you've got to really be on it.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, the idea is that all of them, you know, should become successful. You know? Right. At the same time, you know. Well, definitely. You do what you do, and you know, see how it all works. You know.
Absolutely. Now the EP came out on CD and digital. You can get them on the Bandcamp page. Were you all considering doing anything? Did it come out on vinyl also?
No, we'll probably eventually put that out on vinyl. Cause you know, the EP is just like, I think it's like just over 20 minutes, right? Somewhere between that 25 minute range. And, we're working on the new EP. And like just getting our songs together for that. We're thinking about doing like one side Biomax and the other side the new EP,
the yet to be named EP.
Yeah, well,
every time I ask if
the name,
I
don't want to give it up.
Right, that's the thing. Every time I ask, they're like, "Well, I can't say right now." It's like, shit, man.
Well, you know, ideally we're going to want to have that recorded by sometime, hopefully mid next year.
Okay.
We're still in the process of
fine tuning everything and writing and
yeah,
such.
Like still writing it, going through what we like, and you know, the lyric process with me is a whole entire different thing. You know, a lot of times like we sit up here and we write these songs out, and then I sit there and just like dissect, you know, parts and go through, you know, each song. And you know, a lot of songs it's like I'll have like a rough draft, and then there's a first draft, and then there's a second draft, and then finally when the final draft is ready, that's when it's, you know, it's time to go into the studio.
Right. Now, when you get to the studio, do you ever get to the point where, because I'm a bass and vocals guy, and I always find myself when I get these ideas beforehand in my first and second and such drafts, but when I still get to the actual microphone and I'm feeling things out, it's like, you cut out certain things. Do you still do that as well?
Try to like once we're in the studio, you know, because it's like time is money. We want to get in there and get out, like in and out, and just like try to knock it out as soon as possible. So a lot of times before I even go into the studio, you know, we will have had to have like demoed out something a few times, and I need to like really. There's never anything that's like cut out for the most part. I mean, I'm sure that this process will evolve and change, and different shit will come up and we'll figure it out. But, you know, it's all a process.
For sure. Yeah. The new EP, hopefully coming out sometime next year.
Yep. And
hopefully hopefully vinyl doesn't catch on fire again and be pushed out another year into 2023.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, even though I know it's been backed up for a lot of people. I mean, unfortunately, with my other band, Contrition, we were able to secure, I think, like, initial release is going to be like 300 vinyls.
Okay.
So, which you can order through Bandcamp and all that stuff. But, yeah, somehow we lucked out and got the album out, because I know Without Waves, it's finished their recording and they have an issue currently with that, and I have no idea when that's going to be released, even though, with me being friends of those guys and that band, I've pretty much heard all the new albums. So
that's
like
always fun.
It's ready. It's just a matter of when's it going to be ready for the release.
That's something that's always been interesting to me as well, especially in the pandemic era, and how vinyl has been backlogged for so many bands. Because, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months.
Well, the whole entire, like, when are we going to tour again? And once we do tour again, you got to, release it at the right time.
Exactly.
And even though I'm pretty sure, like, yourself and myself, everybody's vinyl collection expanded immensely over the course of the pandemic.
Oh, my gosh. I don't want to say too much because, I love collecting music, just when I get into a band, I really am that guy that has to go and buy everything.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, they had 14 albums. Well, let me get all 14 albums and listen to them from start to finish.
Yeah, that's how it is with, like, me and, like, Bolt Thrower and Carcass. It's like, I gotta have, like, the whole discography.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, always, like, kind of, like, just filling in things, like, and we got some great record stores around here in Chicago. There's, like, Record Breakers, Reckless Records. There's a place called Bucket of Blood, which is by the original Kuma's Corner.
Cool.
It's also a bookstore. Like, giving all my little favorite places to plug here,
Definitely. I'll have to make the trip up there soon. I wanted to come this past weekend to Reggie's to see the Legion's 3.5, but I had to work that day, and it's a 5-hour drive for me. So
yeah, man, it's kind of couldn't happen.
Yeah, it was kind of rough on me that day. So.
I wanted to attend that too, but I had a show with my other band, Yakuza. Which I played bass for.
Nice.
And that was like our first show in over 2 years. I think the last time we played together was at Psycho Las Vegas 2019. So
dude, that's rad.
That was good. And the whole time we've been writing a new album too. So if you want to do another podcast on that, we can.
For sure. Absolutely.
When that drops out, because we're actually concluding recording that like really soon.
Definitely.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey guys, Wrestling Steve of the Wrestling Steve Show here. So if you're currently listening to the Metal Forge with Mark Jackson, then you understand that Mark Jackson has a pretty discerning taste when it comes to music as a whole. You'll also understand that he has a discerning taste for professional wrestling, just like me. My show is called the Wrestling Steve Show. I talk about modern and classic pro wrestling in a completely unbiased, unfiltered way. Be sure to check me out on all available podcasting platforms. That is the Wrestling Steve Show. And I am the host, Wrestling Steve. Just remember, like Confucius said, man who goes through turnstile in Thailand is going to Bangkok. Pro wrestling.
I do want to switch gears here. I want to ask you, Jerome, some general profile questions about you as a person, because we're all people and that's what matters. And it's all about the metal. Since you are a bartender, you come into a lot of this. Beer or whiskey for you?
Oh, definitely whiskey. I mean, I am a fan of beer, but I am kind of like a whiskey connoisseur.
Nice.
I used to work at a bar called Twisted Spoke, which has like a immense amount of Scotch and Irish whiskey and Canadian whiskey and clear whiskeys, bourbons, and high end, top shelf shit. So I'm really well versed in the whiskey realm, but I also like tequila.
Right.
I try not to ever mix. It's like either when we drink them one day, it's either going to be a whiskey day or it's going to be a tequila day.
Right.
Or lately a tequila mezcal day.
On your whiskey, do you have a particular brand that you like more than anything else?
Yeah, it's Jim Beam.
Nice. So you're a bourbon
Beam
guy.
all day. I am a bourbon guy. Yes.
Cool.
I mean, I'll fuck with the Irish whiskey too, but Jameson's played. If I were going to do anything Irish, it would be like Tullamore Dew or Powers.
Awesome. Priest or Maiden?
Ooh, yeah, that's a hard one. Priest.
Hell yes.
For sure. I love I'm all about the dual guitars, and Maiden's the shit, and but in regards to like listen to all the time, Screaming for Vengeance, Hellbent for Leather.
Absolutely.
I play that shit all the time, and every time one of the best live albums, in my opinion, Unleashed in the East.
Oh yes.
My favorite recording of my favorite Priest song, Victim of Changes.
Definitely.
That's a go-to for me in my playlist often.
I work at a local record store here in Louisville, and we had a copy of that come in on vinyl from somebody's collection, and I played it in the store when nobody was really coming in. It was on a Sunday, and it sounds so fucking good on vinyl.
Yeah, I got it on vinyl too.
It's so good. And for what that album is just like, holy shit, because the vocal track is completely recorded in a studio.
Yeah.
He was so roached out from like screaming his fucking head off on tour that the vocal track was unusable. So he came back and recorded in one take the entire show.
I mean, that's the way to do it.
Dude, I couldn't do that, and that's fucking badass to me. So shout out to Rob for that.
You gotta still get that live element. Can't stop for any takes or anything.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. And I just recently saw them for the first time.
Oh yeah. You caught him before Richie had this crazy little heart aneurysm thing.
It was that.
Oh, was it at that show?
It was at that show.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
So you saw the face he made once that happened. It was like,
yeah.
The painkiller solo, and you're like, man,
and
something don't look right.
No, absolutely not. Right. And I knew that was going to be their last song because it was a festival show, and it was really just kind of a one-off deal from the 50-year tour.
Yeah, I heard that like since Metallica was headlining that night, that they didn't play their normal.
No, they were playing like 18 songs on the actual tour.
Right. If they actually had played that set, he probably would have died.
Probably. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because as soon as he went off stage, apparently he was rushed to the hospital right then. Like,
as soon as his whole aorta like opened up and splayed out, something fucked up. Like,
yeah, it was like apparently it was in like 2 places or some shit, which is crazy.
It's unbelievable that he was able to live through that, because most people I hear bleed out in a matter of like 100 seconds.
Oh, absolutely. And it was crazy because I was looking up tickets the following day to go to see them in Nashville later on in October. And a friend of mine, I was telling him, was like, dude, we ought to go see the entire show, And then I didn't pull the trigger and buy the tickets that day. I waited until Tuesday, and he was like, dude, did you buy those tickets? And I was like, no. And he sent me the link. I was like, motherfucker.
Yeah, man. It's like, well, it's a good thing you didn't do that. I mean, I'm sure there would have been a refund, but nevertheless,
right.
That's a huge hassle and pain in the ass.
Definitely. What was the first concert you ever attended?
Ever attended? Like metal concert or just concert?
Just concert in general. What was the first live band you ever saw?
I saw Michael Jackson in 1988. It was the Bad Tour. And it was, I was like 3 years old and I still remember it. So
that's insane.
And it was actually the last performance Michael Jackson ever did in Chicago. So kind of a legendary concert, For
sure. So, it was the last performance he ever did in Chicago? Really?
Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah. Because Chicago's like a New York. It's an LA. It's a big thoroughfare. It's like saying,
yeah. But after that, after the 80s, that guy kind of faded into obscurity and
well, that's true too.
Shit,
Yeah, he did have the resurgence there in like 91 with the Dangerous album.
Yeah, I don't know if he toured on that.
I'm not sure if he did or not. Interesting.
It was like selected markets or like big arena shows, like did you do the fucking Super Bowl one year or some shit?
Something like that, yeah.
Some show in like Hong Kong or some shit.
I think that was also the time frame too where his hair caught on fire.
Yeah, it was like before that, or somewhere in the 80s.
Yeah, something like that. What was your favorite TV show growing up?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I would say The Simpsons, because I grew up in the 90s, so like those first, it's like season 2 through 8, it's like, still watch those and they're fucking hilarious.
They're classics.
They are classics. I was also a big fan of The X-Files.
Cool.
For sure. Yeah, that was, as a kid, I remember like watching that for the first time. I was like, man, this shit's fucked.
Right. The episode of that always stands out to me is there was one where the husband and wife had divorced and the husband kidnapped the son because he had like a tail, the husband did, and he didn't want his son to have one. I was like, whoa, that's fucking weird.
Yeah, but like I remember that one. It was always like, the paranormal or the aliens or
Definitely.
all the like the weird tales that you hear of, and legends and myths.
For sure.
What's the origin of that? Where did that come from? Why do people even why is that even a thing?
Definitely.
Always had a good way of showing you that it might be like some esoteric conspiracy behind it all.
Right.
So yeah, it's that was definitely intriguing as a child.
It has definitely spawned a tribute patch on my battle vest. Being eclectic people as metalheads usually are, we collect a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
Especially, going on tour here, there, and everywhere. So what do you collect?
Well, definitely records, whatever that.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm a collector of t-shirts. I have like fucking hundreds upon hundreds of them. I had to like get rid of some. And it's just from over the years. Like I used to be one of those guys that like every show I go to, it's like, yeah, I want to remember that. Let me get a shirt. And now it's like, it's kind of the point where I go to shows and I'm like, I gotta give you guys money for something else because I don't even know where I'm going to put all these shirts anymore. I totally forget that I end up having shirts. I also collect like occult books.
Okay.
I have like a limited edition copy of Aleister Crowley's Moonchild. It's like the first pressing of it. It's probably the most expensive book I've ever bought. And I've got I'm always like reading, like just getting back to the X-Files is like always like some weird conspiratorial, like esoteric, not well known information.
Right.
And just weird occult fucking magic stuff.
For sure.
But yeah, other than that, it's and obviously guitars.
Yes.
I got a lot of those.
Definitely, for sure on that. What's your most unpopular music opinion?
Some Kind of Monster. That was a weird one. And I guess that would be an unpopular opinion. That film is an outstanding look into the psyche of a very like popular band that has issues.
Definitely.
It's looking back on it, I'm like, wow, this a little weird, but
I like to watch it every couple of years.
Yeah, I mean they're all human, and imagine being on top of the world is like the top, like not just metal band, but like arena rock band.
Oh yeah,
in like your late 20s, early 30s,
Well,
and being out on the road the whole time. And
well, here's the thing: time gets skewed for a lot of people because we don't think of things as they actually are. We think of things of how we romanticize, right?
Or how we remember it.
Exactly.
It's not like something that happened to us, but it happened to them.
Definitely. Exactly. And think of this. The Black Album came out in 1991. They weren't even 30 years old.
Yeah.
So by that same rationale, that album came out, 10 years after they formed. So that's insane.
And they managed to put out 4 of the best albums ever.
All before they were 30 years old.
All before they were 30.
And completely changed the map of heavy music.
Oh yeah.
And
I think it definitely, I mean, the first album that I ever bought was Injustice for All. And I was like 5 years old,
Definitely.
5 years old, like little black kid going into, a record store and grabbing Injustice for All and taking it up to the counter with my allowance money. And like guys behind the counter like, you sure you want this? You grabbed the right thing, right?
I was given that album at a similar, not 5, I was probably 7 or 8. I was given a copy of that album, and absolutely. And then it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, to this day, the riffs, man, they still hold up. They still hold up, man. They still hold up. That's like, I think, the most awesome thing about James Hetfield. Me personally, like, my admiration for his right hand downstroking technique. I mean, that's like, that shit's essential to like, once I started playing guitar, I learned that technique first.
Absolutely.
The down pick palm mute.
Oh yeah, and just seeing some of the ways he plays riffs is insane. Like,
oh yeah,
where he does like this weird kind of spider chord where he'll play it's like a stacked power chord, and he'll lift up to like his index and ring finger and still be power chording with his middle and pinky, and it's so weird.
Yeah, man, he's
or like these weird pull-offs and shit that he does.
Oh yeah, man, he commands the axe. That's one of the reasons why my favorite guitar is the Explorer.
Right.
Definitely have been scouring the internet to not drop like $8,000 on one of those lawsuit ESPs from that Black Album era. Because
oh my god,
those guitars are the shit.
And I love those. I actually know somebody who has one.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and
you let me know if he wants to part ways with it.
It's the funny thing about it because he has the ESP edition of it and he has the LTD edition of it too.
Yeah,
and it's so cool. It's like,
it is that and those EMGs in there. I thought the Gibson that I play on, the Explorer that I play in Hatemonger, it's Shred X. It's like a limited edition Explorer, and it's heavy as hell, but it's got a Kaler bridge and EMGs, and like the fretboard's all blacked out.
Nice.
That guitar, it's definitely my favorite guitar.
What's the configuration of the EMG though? Do you know, like an 8185? Is it an
8985?
8985. Awesome. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I always like it. The 8185 is pretty much that classic setup. The Zakk Wylde plays it, Kerry King plays it, but he plays it with the decibel boost on there. And when you get something like
Kerry King's always got his sustainer.
Yep. It's the sustainer with that, and it's a 20 decibel coil tap.
Right.
And yeah, it just makes him scream, honestly.
Oh yeah.
It's made for nothing but feedback.
Yeah, all those pinch harmonics, and the squeals, and you just hold it out for forever. It's like it sustains. Like it'll keep on going if you hold that note, man.
Hey, it's Mark Maxwell at Maxwell's House of Music. Listen, all this stuff is now available to purchase on our website. Check it out at maxwellshouseofmusic.com.
We carry all the top brands, like Fender.
We got Gibson.
We also have basses.
We've got ukuleles.
We got drums.
We've got sound gear.
We've got keyboards.
It's Gonna Get Weird is the name of the podcast. We're on season 2, so you have a whole season to get weird with Frank Green and Scott Clark. The best part is there's always laughter.
Oh, yeah, you can pull that out.
We have national touring comedians, NFL stars, rock stars, your local friends. It always gets weird. Weird answers.
Have y'all ever snorted coke off of a 78 Pinto? No? You ain't no man.
Weird questions.
Who had a bigger cocaine habit, Jock Sutherland or Kaywood Ledford?
Neither one, because they stopped beating their wives.
And weird we never even thought of.
Well, no. My friend is on acid, and I sent my friend to go find a payphone so that I can call and turn myself in for murdering this guy and ruin my life.
We love all types of people, but we don't love all people.
Weird. It's Gonna Get Weird is the name of the podcast, available everywhere. And thank you to Big X Sports Radio for being a proud sponsor of It's Gonna Get Weird. Frank Green, Scott Clark. Yeah.
If you could relive any age of your life, what would it be?
Oh man, probably that early '90s period. That was really a big deal for me, you know, because that was like my introduction to a lot of music. That was back when MTV used to play videos,
metal videos, yeah,
metal videos, and Headbangers Ball was on point, you know. When that all kind of faded away, once MTV stopped playing videos, for the most part, like in the mid-90s, that was the end of an era, you know.
It really was. I watched that fall as well, and it was. And then when like the late 90s,
fucking painful to watch, man.
Right, and then like in the late 90s when like Fuse came out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that was good, you know. But like, it's like you had to have the next cable package in order to get that shit.
Right, and yeah, my parents weren't buying it. not for that.
That and like we had I don't know if you remember the box. I think that might have just been
No. We had it here in Louisville as well. You could call in for like 99 cents a minute and request songs. And
then your parents would get that phone bill and you'd be in deep shit.
Right. Definitely.
Like who ordered all these videos? So yeah, man.
They get pissed, dude, like crazy pissed.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that was the golden era. You know? That was when I still have a shitload of CDs, but like a lot of the CDs that I have are from me, you know, going to a record store with my allowance money and getting something like once a week, you know.
Definitely remember those days myself, and I kind of am back at that. You know, I just recently bought a house, and I'm like, all right, now I got to really budget my music purchase.
Right. Yeah, that's those grown-up things will get in the way of
yes,
our hobbies and
passion.
You know,
yeah,
the music and our passion and what we enjoy to collect.
Oh, for sure. Jerome, dude, do you have any shout-outs you want to give to anybody before the last question today?
Oh, shout-outs. I want to give a shout-out to Rodney Pollock. He's the band manager of Macabre. I didn't really get a chance to talk about Macabre that much, but I've tour managed with those guys. I've roadied with them, and I just saw him last night. It was a show at Reggie's, and I was bartending, and you know, him and I used to do Metal Sundays at Exit, which unfortunately I don't think is going to come back, but it was a legendary punk bar in Chicago that been around for over 30 years. And every Sunday we would do Metal Sunday, and that's where I kind of cut my teeth a lot with exposure to a lot of underground shit, but also he eventually gave me the opportunity to start DJing there. And at this point, this was like eons ago. And then before I knew it, I was bartending it. You know, it was a good time while it lasted. But he's an awesome guy. He's a big part of the local metal community here in Chicago. Behind the Chicago Metal Factory and Mind Melt videos. So if you ever see any like old sick videos from the early 90s or late 80s, or even anytime throughout the 90s, Mind Melt was always him, recording it. So
hell yeah.
Shout out to him and Scott Davidson from Rebel Radio for sure. But yeah, those guys are all essential players here and very much responsible for my life of metal. I've known them since I was a little kid. So
hell yeah, man. As always, links will be listed below, so give these guys a like, a share, and a follow. Go buy some music on Bandcamp from them. Support these guys in any way you can, because that's what fucking metal is about. And final question of the day.
Oh, final question of the day. What you got?
What album changed your life?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
Because obviously there's been a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that one thing, one album that made everything click.
Rain and Blood.
Okay.
For sure, Rain and Blood. Yeah, I remember I bought that when I was 10 or something like that. And, my parents were all religious and whatnot. And I think everybody was at that time, Right. Nowadays, it's you ask that question and everybody's like, yeah. But, back in the 90s, it was to have that album was I remember listening to it and reading through the lyrics and being all I'm fucking going to hell.
Well,
it was one of those things where it's oh man, it's just by listening to this, and it's I'm probably going to be condemned to an eternity in Hades or some shit like that. But, yeah, and at first I was scared about it. I was oh man, I really love this. I think the fact that I love it is probably is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? And it was a great thing. It was a life-changing thing. And, I still to this day listen to that album all the time, but that's definitely what made it click for me. And, that was also my introduction to even more extreme heavy things. Even though I'm younger, I think I had the Earache earplugged compilation.
Right.
From 94, 95, something like that. And that had Entombed and Dismember or not Dismember, but it was Entombed was on there, Carcass was on there, all the Earache bands, back when Earache was the shit.
Right.
And yeah, that was definitely another one of those. It was a compilation of just things that pushed me over into more extreme, heavier metal. And then also the Relapse Contaminated 3.0 compilation. That's also, those are two honorable mentions.
Definitely.
That's how I was exposed to Cephalic Carnage and Mastodon when they used to be on Relapse. And, their first album to this day is that's my favorite Mastodon album. I still listen to that all the time, Not to say that any of the other works they've been doing since Leviathan, or not Leviathan, but Remissions hasn't been good or anything, but that album is still just supreme and that was the metal album,
Right. It really was. And, that's a thing that's kind of the mixtape deal. Obviously, his tape has went away and now came back. But aside from that fact, when tape went away in the, late 90s, the mixtapes kind of went away. And then we had, mixed CDs and compilation CDs. That,
right.
I always remember getting the Roadrunner compilations.
Yeah. And those were good,
Yeah, I mean,
back when they had Sepultura.
right. And when they started getting bands like Nickelback,
Yeah, that's when it was
didn't want it anymore.
Right. That's all that corporate, rock bullshit, though,
Oh yeah,
it's kind of.
But the thing about it, they're coming back. It seems like Soul Grinder Zine they release compilation CDs all the time anymore, and it's cool that culture is kind of coming back now.
Yeah,
because it's not just a split or a 4-way split. It's 23 or 24 songs of awesome fucking bands from all over the world, and
exactly.
And that's the stuff that I always enjoyed getting is street team membering and stuff like that back in the day.
Hell yeah, man!
Definitely.
It was those were the days.
Absolutely. The glory days of metal. And a quick note, you were talking about how you got Rain and Blood and you felt like it was am I supposed to have this?
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying with that. You know, I didn't necessarily have religious parents or anything, but like I was raised in a religious area and in a rural area of southern Indiana.
Oh yeah,
and
it's like always, if you have that, it's like
you were a little fuckhead.
Yeah,
you know?
don't let your local pastor know about that, or like
right,
so like,
or you know,
grab the CD and chuck it out the window.
Yeah, it was very much viewed as people who listened to like bands like Slayer were bad kids type shit.
Yeah, or like, and, you know, worship the devil. And it's like, no,
exactly. And and then now being an adult, you know, looking back on it, it's like, it's just like silly. It's like, are you serious? Fucking like, I can't believe people like thought that way.
Yeah, man, it's satanic panic, bro.
Exactly. Jerome, dude, thank you so much for coming on to this week's episode of the Metal Forge. Coming to a close of spooky season, unfortunately, because every month needs to be Halloween. Every month needs to be October.
Every day is Halloween.
That's right. So off of the Vile Maxim, what are we playing out today?
Oh man, I played Disinformation Campaign. That's the jam.
All right.
That's the one song I kind of didn't get into how the Vile Max was pretty much like 4 songs about, you know, the elements of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but that's the one that's not about that, but kind of just about the world in which we live now, you know. A Disinformation Campaign has been, you know, launched into our thoughts and minds, and you know, it's fucking everything up. But I think as long as people can look through it and find the truth, we might not be completely fucked. But otherwise, we're on our way to a dystopian future. So
definitely. And as you heard him, this is Disinformation Campaign.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of the Metal Forge. I want to take a minute to remind you guys about the Patreon page. Over on the Patreon page, we have the tiers set up to support the production of the show. We feature the Down and Dirty, which is just $1. There's nothing special for that one, it just sends me a thank you because every dollar helps. Then there's the Double Down and Dirty. Much akin to the Down and Dirty tier, everything helps produce the show in the end. You make your presence known, and I appreciate that more than you realize. Thank you for being a dedicated friend and supporter of the Metal Forge. By selecting that tier, you will receive some cool Metal Forge stickers in your mailbox. Now, we're really going to start pounding the metal madness with the Apprentice Metalhead for just $5 a month. By becoming an Apprentice Metalhead, you'll be given early access to the shows, published 24 hours before everyone else gets it. You're also going to receive 3 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You're also going to receive a 10% discount on all Metal Forge merch, and you're going to receive a sweet Metal Forge patch for your battle jacket or backpack. And now, here is the big one. This is the Master Metalhead for just $10 a month. By becoming a Master Metalhead, you will receive a hand-numbered Metal Forge Master Metalhead membership card. You're going to be given early access to the shows as well, with 36 hours before everyone else. You're going to receive 5 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You'll be able to submit audio questions that I will use on the show of you asking questions to the upcoming guests. Remember, timing is everything, and you will need to keep up with the upcoming guest list on the website. You're also going to receive advanced knowledge of any new merch coming out and be given a 25% discount on all Metal Forge merch. And you're also going to get all of the other rewards from the other tiers. So visit patreon.com/Metal Forge Radio today and help support the Metal Forge. Rock on.